Good morning to the stunning shores of Ibiza and welcome to a history-making moment at the 2025 World Aquatics Open Water World Cup. I'm Will Rollo, and today, alongside Olympian Alice Deering, we are bringing you something brand new, bold, and brilliant. The debut of the 3-kilometer knockout sprint, a format that could change the future of open water swimming. Forget the long, patient build-ups we're used to. This is fast, tactical, and ruthless. 3 rounds, short distances, no margin for error. If you're sharp, you're in. If you're not, you're gone. Today, we kick things off with the women's heats, semifinals, and final, all raced back-to-back in one thrilling session. No saving it for tomorrow, no second chances. It's all on the line right now. The Mediterranean is ready. The athletes are ready. The next era of open water swimming starts today right here in Ibiza. Alice, as someone who's lived through the grind of 10-kilometer racing at the highest level, how much of a game changer is it for the sport to introduce something fast and this aggressive?
Hey, well, thank you so much. And what an exciting start we have this morning. And to answer your question, it is massive. This is a really, really big monumental moment for the sport of open water swimming. We have seen the changes come through with the relay and the introduction of that, and how popular that has been with coaches, athletes, and spectators alike. And now something different, fresh, really innovative. We've been fortunate enough to see it tested out already at the World Juniors, but for the first time, we're seeing it in senior racing, and it's going to test our athletes' adaptability, their skills, and as you were saying, yeah, there's no room for error this morning with the amount of swimming that these athletes have to go through.
So just on that, Alice, of course, for the spectators watching at home, for many of them, it will be their first time watching. We'll break it down as the race goes through, but how it will work today, 2 heats of a 1.5-kilometer loop. The top 10 athletes from each heat moving through to the semi-final. The semi-final is a 1-kilometer loop with the top 10 athletes again moving on into the final of 500 meters. The fastest and smartest athletes will win that. There'll be 10-minute breaks between each of the races. That timer will start as the 10th finisher in the second heat clocks through the line. Alice, this style of racing, 3 back-to-back intense efforts with short recovery, how does that change an athlete's strategy compared to the standard 10 kilometers?
Yeah, so the approach to this will vary from athlete to athlete. The way that I honestly would look at this is think of this as a training session, in the sense of in a training session, you'll do a hard effort, then get a bit of rest, then hard effort again, and get a bit of rest. And some athletes will really take to that and kind of fall into that pattern really quickly. Whereas for some others, it might be quite jarring for them, where, you're used to doing a 10K effort all at once, you get out and you're done. Whereas here, you're going to get out after 1500, assuming you've moved on to the 1K, you're going to have a couple moments rest and then have to get in and do another really hard effort. So this is it will test athletes in different ways, and approaches will vary from athlete to athlete. Of will some of them swim down? Will be interesting to see if there's time for that. Will some of them, kind of jump around and try to stay warm, try to remove that lactate? So honestly, I don't think there's going to be definitely not for this time anyway, a tried and tested, this is what you do, X, Y, and Z. But I think it's going to be so interesting watching how athletes decide to take on those few moments of rest that they get, because in open water swimming, it's never been done before. You don't get that opportunity to get out, talk to your coach, get some information from them. So it'll be really interesting to see how athletes can adapt to that extra dynamic that we have today.
Speaking of the athletes, only moments away from being introduced to both Heat 2 and Heat 1. The heats have been drawn at a random selection based at the team leaders meeting earlier this week. If we look across the women's heats, it's a fairly even split between them, with 23 athletes swimming from each heat. Heat number 1, this is going to be a fast one. There's some of the athletes that will be able to break down, the likes of Mariah Denigan, Bettina Fabian, Ginevra Tadaducci, Leah Boy, just to name a few. For Mariah, obviously a disqualification in yesterday's race today provides an opportunity as an individual to come back and show what she has in the tank.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is what is so fantastic about the introduction of more events. So previously at World Cups, you would turn up, you would do a 10K and you would go home. Then there was the introduction of the relay, which most nations or some nations could take part in. You know, you obviously have to take a team large enough which can take part in it. But now with the 3K knockout, the fact that it is an individual race, it gives athletes another opportunity to get in, race against the best in the world, and get some more experience. So in the case of Mariah, who was unfortunately disqualified yesterday, it is a really exciting opportunity to, right some wrongs and get in and still get some great experience racing at a World Cup.
And the hometown favorite, Angela Martinez, racing off a gold medal from yesterday. She's going to be one that not only the fans on the beach will be cheering on, but many swimmers and spectators around the world really cheering on that Spaniard. Do you think the win yesterday would have taken it out of her, or the sort of emotional moment that is winning a home World Cup almost playing into the hands of Martinez?
I really hope she feels buoyant and just excited for another opportunity to get in and get another gold medal. I'm sure she will be feeling like that. There will be some fatigue in her body, but the thing you have to remind yourself is everyone's been through the 10K yesterday. Like everyone's going to be tired from it. There is going to be stress and strain held in everybody's bodies, but a race like this will be very mentally challenging. There's of course the physical elements where the sprint and the speed and the endurance will kick in, but a lot of this will be mental, and where are you willing to take yourself, where are you willing to put your body. So in the case of Martinez, I think she'll be feeling very excited, as she should be, and very confident. Carry that confidence through of how she dominated the last part of the race, that last lap, and really carried the speed through. It's going to be a really exciting race for her.
And as we get ready, Alice, 10 seconds till we meet our first athletes walking down to the starting pontoon. This is a momentous occasion for the sport of open water swimming. How are you feeling?
I am so excited. I kept speaking about this race. Like, whenever we've got opportunity, it'd be like, by the way, the 3K knockout's absolutely amazing. The juniors absolutely loved it at Worlds, and I'm so excited to see how the senior athletes take to this. What are their approaches, and what is the future of this event? Because it's at World Championships, already such an exciting prospect. So this is kind of going to be the testing ground for athletes. How are they going to play it? Are they going to try and stick it safe in the first 1500 and then try and build through the next two rounds? Or, as I was saying yesterday, I just don't think you can play it that safe. There's some really fast swimmers in both the men's and the women's, and especially for the weaker athletes of the field, they will be gunning for it at the start. So the pace will be hot from everybody. There's no room for complacency here.
That's so true. And yesterday you said it best. The theme so far at this competition has been unpredictability. That's what we saw at the Junior World Championships last year, where this event was first introduced. So I'm sure we will see much more of it today. Introducing our athletes here, this is Heat 2. So for spectators wondering why they're not walking straight down to the starting pontoon, it's because they will be in a holding zone waiting for Heat 1 to start. Heat 1 will kick us off. They will be followed by Heat 2, 3 minutes separating them. So it will be interesting, specifically in the men's race, if the back swimmers from Heat 1 start getting caught by the start of Heat 2, just how that will impact the overall finish arch. It's who knows how this is going to play out, really. It really, as we've been saying, this is the first time it's been introduced at this level, and as much as the athletes are up for the experience, so is our team on the broadcast side. Anything can happen here.
Yes, definitely. It has been floated around. It's been spoken about for a while. And and it's just so great to see it on the senior stage. And I'm sure these athletes are really, really excited for it. You know, it's pro- slightly less pressure than the 10K, if I can be bold enough to say that. You know, of course, the 10K is the event that open water swimmers train for. It's the Olympic event. So having something like this, a 3K knockout with some spice, some excitement, there's going to be some thrills in there. There's going to be some disappointments from these athletes, but I think it's just a really, really another great opportunity to be competitive. And as I've been saying, you don't get opportunities to race like this often. They come around at World Cup level 4, maybe 5 times a year. So if you get another 3 kilometers potentially, or at least another 1500 meters of racing with people of this caliber, you need to grab it and take it with both hands and see what you can do with it.
Yeah, that's what's been introduced for, especially at a World Cup level, to build that experience, especially through those turn cans and finish lines. Those skills rarely get tested at training, so it's going to be interesting to see it on the highest level. Tell you what, Alice, for the two heats, this has been completely random draw for today's event. Heat 1 is absolutely stacked. We're starting to see some of these athletes there. I believe that was Chiara Sanzullo of Italy being introduced. And, there are so many big names swimming from Heat 1. I wonder how that will impact the likes of the athletes in Heat 2, if they can take it ever so slightly easier and save some energy for the back end. But as you said before, you can't risk being cute in this race. You have to get out and leave it all on the line, or else you could be knocked out in the very first 1500 meters.
It's so true. You know, I'm just looking through the start list, and of course, in Heat 1, you have Delacroix. She had a really, really good swim yesterday, getting inside the top 10. Lisa Powell, always really quick off the start. You know she's going to be confident and going for it. Bettina Fabian got the third place yesterday. And then, you know, moving further down the start list, you've got Pozobon, Tadaducci, and Leah Boyce. So, yeah, you're right. It is a stacked first heat, and this is I think the excitement of random heat draws is you kind of not that it's athlete's fault, but you kind of flip that coin and you see where you end up. And not that Heat 2 doesn't have some really established swimmers, of course. Angela Martinez, going in Heat 2 herself, but it's it's going to be interesting to see if you can play around with the heat that you're in and use that to your advantage.
All that and much more to break down as these incredible women line the starting pontoon. They're getting ready for the start line here for Heat 1, the beginning of something brand new for open water swimming. 159 athletes across both genders this weekend, and it all starts now with the women's charge towards history. The top 10 from this heat will move forward into the semi-final. Every second counts. Every decision matters. Let's make history. Geez, you can sense the anticipation. Everyone very nervous. No one wanting a backward step on that start line. Unfamiliar position for our athletes. 65 of them racing from this start line yesterday. It's going to be a different experience here, but we're all for it. Heat 1, almost underway. A monumental moment for open water swimming about to undertake. And we are go here in Ibiza. The women's 3-kilometer knockout sprint is underway. Innovation in action, Alice. What a start it is once again. You can see just how chaotic it is. You really need to nail this start in this 1500-meter format, or your race could be over from the very start. And some of these athletes jumping away very quickly at the top of our screen.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the start real quick. I was like so tense watching that, you know, that silence and that build up. It's something that honestly sticks with you for life. You never really like lose that sensation of be you never forget that sensation, sorry, of being on the start line like that. And in such a special case as well, in the sense of, the first time it's done at this event, you've got to get in and put out a hard effort. They would have done a very, very strong land warm up, potentially some of them getting in the water if they're happy with the temperature. Um, because you have to go from the start. There's no chance, as you said, there's no patient build up. It's all guns blazing from the start, and it looks like is that it might be Mariah Denigan or
Yeah.
taking it out at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like Mariah sitting next to Lisa or Pau, or it might even be Paula Otero of Spain up the front there. So speak to the how important the start is in this 1500-meter format. We're a minute and a half away from seeing Heat 2 start, but like if you're at the front of the race here, you basically can control the speed, which is where you want to be at the start of this race.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things you don't want to lose out in the first like 300 meters. I was going to say the first 100 meters, but obviously, we've got more time and space than that. But by 300 meters, you do want to be in a strong position because the chance of getting stuck behind somebody who might lose the jump or having to navigate around boys and being in the wrong position because you're too far back is risky. You really don't have a lot of time to play with. And as I've been saying, you just can't be complacent. You can't take your foot off the gas at any point. You can't lose concentration. And we see the next woman lining up for this. It's such an interesting concept of watching other people dive into an open water race and then you lining up afterwards. It's really different to what we see in the sport.
And they are 10 seconds away from starting their race. So in the hands of the starters now, as Alice talked about, the anticipation is palpable here. These athletes about to head off for the very first time. And all athletes in the water now for this momentous occasion for the women's 3 kilometer knockout. Open water swimming has taken a step forward today, and we're watching it unfold. Look at the chaos straight across the field. You very rarely, if ever, see that.
Gosh, yeah, that's the thing. Everybody has to go. You can't be chilling at the back. We did see one swimmer wait and dive in a bit later, an Italian. I'm not sure who it was though, but you need to take those opportunities and go for it. If she's looking to find a specific person's feet, which is what I think she was going to do, then go for it. But most swimmers will just be like thinking, I need to go, I need to use my speed, and that's what they're committing to off the start.
Yeah, so what we'll do here is we'll chop and change between our first heat and our second heat. These are siding buoys that you see the athletes swimming through at the moment. Those will be the turning cans for the next iterations of each race. We see one of our athletes just falling off the pace in heat 1 here, and that will potentially pay an impact on the start of heat 2 when they go through that. But there is a bit of a pack starting to form up, so someone sitting at the front not afraid of putting down the pace. It looks like it's Mariah Denigan, who is relatively fresh after the unfortunate disqualification yesterday.
Yeah, I think I did say that everyone had been through the 10K, but I suppose in her case, I can't remember where. I think it was maybe 3 or 4K in. I can't quite remember where she got disqualified, but I'm not surprised that she's going for it. She's going to have a point to prove, and it's also keeping her out of trouble as well, in the sense of I believe she was yellow carded for unsportsmanlike behaviour and then red card after that. So it honestly it makes sense for her. I'm not surprised to see her up front leading, and she's really dragging the pace along. It does look fast. We have seen one swimmer fall off, and you're so right about if she does, the swimmer from Heat 1 who has been left behind, if she does get caught up, it can be very chaotic. I've been in situations like that where, you're suddenly swimming next to someone who you've caught up from the men's race, which has started before, or something like that, and you can quite quickly get confused with like, hang on a second, are they the person that I was tracking? So, and especially in a race like this where every every meter will count, much more so than a 10K in the sense of you have so much less time to work with. So you're going to have to be very switched on as athletes. And just a quick comment on the water again is perfect conditions for such a race like this, in the sense of it's going to allow these swimmers to swim very quickly and just go for it.
So speak to that, Alice. The distance that these athletes are swimming, it's 1,500 meters as per the course. But
Exactly, that's the thing. You have to be very ruthless and very confident with your swimming and with your strokes. And I actually had Kerry Ann Payne, she medaled in 2008 silver at the Olympic Games, and she would tell me, be confident with your swimming, be confident with your strokes, take your space and own your space. Don't let other people like push you around and try and edge you out of your space. If you found that space on your fair grounds, don't give that up. And that is going to be so true for every single stage of these races, especially, well, I was going to say especially in this race, but especially in this 1500, sorry, but I mean, it's going to be relevant throughout all of it, because, of course, when you get down to the 500 meters, that's where the medals are going to be won. So, we saw it a bit with the women's yesterday. We definitely saw it with the men's race, in the sense of athletes kind of getting too wrapped up with
yeah,
their own little battles and not realizing that the race was happening elsewhere. And that can definitely happen in something like this too. We kind of saw it happen at the World Juniors, where Sashaveli and I've forgotten his name again. Sorry, there's a young American boy, kind of getting like into their own little battle, and then Kaito Tushimori managed to find that space and get around them and go and take the win. So I think I'm hoping no one tries to risk the same kind of behavior again today, and focusing on their own race, but being aware that everybody else is competitive in this as well.
yeah, yeah, and everyone's trying to make it through to that next level, as we've seen time and time again in the 10 kilometers. There's races within races, and that goes without saying once more. The World Swim Rankings are now live, and every position matters, especially if you can graduate from the 1,500 meters to the 1,000-meter semi-final. So as we have our lead group here, it looks like Mariah Denigan leading over Ginevra Tadaducci, and now coming down to this far side turning can. I think that's Caroline Jouis in the French hat on the inside of the course, pulling up alongside what looks like Bettina Fabian. If you're Jouis here, what are you aiming for? And similarly for Fabian, are you trying to squeeze her out into this turn can?
So I think it might be Delacroix. But yes, in the case of this French swimmer, getting up as far as you can onto someone's hip in this sense, and really trying to find that space. I would normally say in a 10K, stick on their feet and ride it out. You've got time to play with, but you don't have that kind of time in this. You don't want to be stressing around saying, this is my space, I've owned this space, and then suddenly everybody's kind of swarming around you, and then you're sandwiched in the middle. And the kind of worst situation that you can be in is getting into the finish arch in like 12th position, and kind of panicking that you really need to find somebody to get past so you can progress to the next round. So honestly, the best place to sit in this case, I absolutely love where Tadaducci sat, enjoying Denigan's draft, and then moving through. She can maybe look to just sit there, take a happy second place from this heat, and then build on that progression as it goes.
Yeah, it's so interesting how it sort of graduates through the rounds as well. Well, in this race, there's not really any benefit in winning the first heat. You just want to make sure that you finish comfortably ahead of 10th position. So you're right, Tadaducci in the perfect spot, and it really does feature how she likes to race. Very high cadence and high stroke rate through her stroke as well. We see this second pack now turning through. There is 10 athletes in that lead group, in fact, and a bit of a split. But Alice, I did go back and watch the Junior World Champs this morning, and it was Hannah Kovacs-Serez that was battling with Sasha Veli in that final. And what Veli was doing is just always making sure that he had the inside line into the turn can. How important is that inside line? And I guess why is it so important, as we see now Tadaducci pull up alongside Denigan on this back straight? This is a star-studded heat number one.
Yeah, definitely. And this is where all of these open water tactics do kick in. As much as I'd love to see pool swimmers in this, and I really want to see pool swimmers in this is where the 10K experience will prove to be a very strong and very valuable asset to all of the athletes competing, because you have to be tactically savvy to win this race. It's going to come down to a sprint finish, as we saw at the World Juniors. Um, it was about, positioning and pushing out a little bit and using what you have at your disposal to get those medals. So it's going to be really important for athletes to be really switched on. Whilst it is a sprint, it is still open water swimming, which means you still have to be tactically very sound and very astute.
Here we have Heat 2. I believe that's Imafuku leading the way for Japan. The Japanese are familiar with this race, with Kaito Shimori taking the win at World Junior Champs in somewhat of an upset race, with Sashavelli really controlling the pace from start to finish. Do you think they've taken the time to review that experience and what Kaito got out of it to implement once more today?
Yes, I think so. That's the kind of thing that you come off the back of it and you take all of that confidence from it. It was such an exciting race, and it's fantastic to see Japan continually giving their athletes opportunity and exposure at World Cups. And we see Kaito Chismori coming in three the 3K knockout for the men's later on this afternoon. So that's going to be a fantastic opportunity for him to, continue or bounce back from such a great win. But in terms of Japan, and I think Kajimoto leading at the moment potentially, she looked really good yesterday actually in the 10K. She didn't finish quite as high up as her as she was in the pack earlier on as the race progressed. But just this is the point. It's great to see people getting back in and putting out these efforts again and still gaining so much experience. And as we're saying with Japan, the experience that they're giving their athletes, I really think they're going to be very strong contenders when we're looking towards LA 2028.
So here we have heat number one, storming down this final straight. We go across, Bettina Fabian sort of closest to the screen. Oh no, sorry, that's actually Victoria from yesterday's race. But you can see just how dense it is. A reminder that only 10 of these athletes are going to move through. There's 6 leading the way, and then there is another 7 athletes just on the tail. So there will be people knocked out from this screen here. You put yourself in the position of Ginevra Tadaducci from this point out, Alice. There's only 200 odd meters to swim. What's the move? Do you try and just cruise through to the finish, or are you really going to work hard to try and get the win in Heat 1?
Here, I think in the position she's in, she could probably knock off the pace ever so slightly. She just needs to make sure no one gets around her. So it's one of those things, if you're going to drop off the pace so much that everybody just swims past you, you can't do that. But there's no point stressing yourself too much to get your fingers on the pad first. You don't have to battle out in the last 20 meters to really make that win happen. So I think she's in a very strong position. I think she's kind of executed it perfectly. I think Mariah Denigan has just tucked herself back in here, and we're seeing a really interesting development in Heat 2. It's kind of I think that's probably Angela Martinez on the far side, and then Kajimoto, one of the Japanese hats, swimming there. So interesting that everyone's kind of looking to take the lead.
Oh, someone's hat.
Oh gosh. Oh, she's doing well. It's a good job her goggles are on underneath. I think. Yeah. Oh no, they're on over the top, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, they are on over the top. Oh, that's stressful. She's doing really well though. Hopefully she'll finish within this top. It's looking comfortable. She should finish within the top 12 and then top 10. Sorry.
That looks like a Hungarian athlete. One of them, either Bettina or I think Victoria's on the bottom of the pack. So we'll see who it is on the finish, but that could be that's definitely a dangerous position when you're sitting in that second row. So they're only moments away from finishing here. As you mentioned, Alice, it is Ginevra Tadaducci leading the way. and very, very much in the box seat, but the work is not over. There's more than 10 athletes in that lead group, which means that some of them will be going home early. This is, as we mentioned, where a lot of the talent is sitting in the lead group. Up on the top of the cap, that is one of our French athletes. Apologies, it's hard to pick that one out, but Tadaducci, I think she's played this to perfection. Not going to have to empty the tank in the heat one.
No, and it looks like they're actually creating a bit of a break, which I don't know if they're meaning to. It's one of those things. There is like a body length gap between them and like the next row of people. Oh, and this I feel so bad for this athlete. Oh, she was in such a good position. Oh, I think she's lost her goggles as well, so she's just trying. Oh, that's heartbreaking. Oh, we'll definitely we'll find out her name and make sure she gets her credit, because she was in a very good, comfortable position. She'd have qualified. So
here we go.
Into
the final straight now. This is the first heat of the 1500 meters. Once more, only 10 athletes making it through. So you look to that second group. There is 11 athletes within there. The top two are not in doubt. Clemence Coccodano, I believe, up there for France, next to Ginevra Tadaducci for Italy. And as they come down, that will be the top two. This is a masterclass from those two. Oh, some big names missing out there. There are honestly, too tight to call. I think I saw Delacroix miss out from France, but I mean, I could be proven wrong very quickly as well.
This is the thing, they're all coming into the finish all kind of on top of each other. There was kind of no space for some of them to finish because it was so clumped together. So you could really see Tadaducci kind of knock off her pace right at the last like 5 meters, you know, and it's like every little bit of energy that you can save will be so important, you know, because you've still got, they're halfway through the race technically, but it's still 2 more rounds to go. Yeah. So mentally, whilst you are technically like meters wise halfway through, I'd say it actually gets more challenging from this point on, in the sense of the 1,000 and 500. You really have to have everything right in that situation. There's far less room for error in those races.
Yeah, you're right there. And this is heat 2 now, coming in with about 200 meters to swim. I believe that's Abina of Japan that's taken the lead over Kajimoto, who was leading just before. She's got the better line, and that's how she's been able to put this body length on Martinez of Spain, who's swimming strongly. Up in the mix as well for Germany is Jeanette Spearworks, so she's going to come home hard. And this is what we were talking about at the start of the race. This is catching the back of heat 1. This is going to play some chaos in this lead pack.
Yeah, definitely. And I say, Abina noticed immediately that this is not a swimmer that I want to be on the feet of at the moment. We have caught somebody up. So she navigated around that perfectly. And this is where the swimmers behind may not realize that they've caught somebody. So Abina was on it very much so, but someone behind might think, oh, I'm catching somebody up, I'll get on their feet. But I think the Spanish swimmer who has been caught has done quite well at just letting everybody pass and not trying to impede any of their races, which is, of course, great sportsmanship and what we'd expect from our athletes.
So 13 athletes in this lead group for heat number 2. Abina leads the way ahead of Spearworks, and up there as well, Kajimoto on the outside, and almost in a spot of bother is Angela Martinez, our winner from the women's 10 kilometers yesterday. And as you go through the field, you're going to see some of these back athletes will miss out on that touch. So this is a great move from Abina through the final stages of this race to find her own water and really just power towards the finish line. But Martinez as well on the outside has held on and then swimming strongly through this final shoot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all through comfortably. And then we'll be into the dicey situation. But well done to Japan. They have delivered in this first 1500, coming across well and truly in front. Both Abina, Kajimoto, Spearworks, and I believe Martinez through safely, Alice. And from there, it's anyone's guess.
just have to say, both those Japanese athletes looked fantastic. Their stroke and just looks so smooth and so strong. You know, got a great high turnover, but still look like they're catching a lot of water. I really think, you know, the potential that we saw yesterday with Kajimoto and even Kaito Toshimori at the start, something is happening there that I think in a few years' time, people might be a bit surprised that we're getting Japanese athletes on the podium. But I'm not going to be surprised, is what I'm saying, because there's so much potential and you can really see the amount of effort that they're committing to open water swimming. It's so great to see.
You're right. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as we approach the shorter distances as well. From now, though, 10 minutes until we start the semi-final, these athletes will start to move through their recovery essentially. Alice, we spoke earlier just how important these good recovery strategies are between different races. Imagine if you had just raced the 1500 meters and 10 minutes later had to race another 800 meters in the pool. And as you can see there, the different technology starting to come out. If you were in these races, and of course we'll bring you the results once we get them, but it looks like Brooke Travis of the US and Denigan through comfortably, which is great for those, as well as Lisa Powell in the holding zone as well. So we will bring you the results as we hear them. But Alice, if you were an athlete right now in that recovery area, what's your strategy and how are you approaching the next 10 minutes?
Honestly, I think with the water temperature that we're talking about, 19.1, to me, I'd rather be in a wetsuit in that temperature. So the moment I get out of this water, I'd be looking to get a jacket on, get some trousers on, keep warm. You haven't seen too many athletes move around. I think it's one of those things you just kind of want to sit down. But sometimes I'm never sure if that's the best case. I'm not sure. So you're seeing some massage guns. You've got some physios like shaking things out. Um, I'm interested to know, like, is the best thing to get up and move. That's what I was always told, but I always wanted to sit down. So this is where I think physios and coaches, you know, when especially that this is like a world championship event, this is something that, you know, invest in, have a look, see what the best way of recovering when you have such a short window is. I think we just see Coach Bernd there from in the German coach just walk across. We mention him often, and I've just realised a lot of people won't know what all of these people that we speak about look like. So you caught a quick glimpse of him walking across there, but I don't know. How would you approach this, Will? Do you know, like obviously with training sessions and racing, like what was always your recovery strategy?
Well, it's a really it's weather dependent, as you mentioned, for today, and almost athlete dependent in the weather. So for me, the cold water never really had an impact for me. So I would be straight out trying to stretch out my arms first and foremost. The last thing that you would want as these athletes would be going through, especially as a male athlete, with the suit being up, your lats can tighten up very quickly if you're not active. So for them to be sitting down, I mean, it's good, no emotional energy expenditure, but really want to see those arm swings and I guess some lat activations through this recovery period, because you know in a second you're going to go from 0 to 100 once more. You're not going to have that opportunity to do the big dry land warm up that you had before the 1500 meters. So it is such an interesting dynamic, and as we saw just on the screen earlier, the Spaniard coming prepared with that deck coat and keeping the core temperature very high.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing. You know, it depends how long they've got, and of course, like you'll probably see a lot of movement when they get back on the start lines with some arm swings. But I honestly, personally, wouldn't be saving it for the pontoon. I just knowing myself, I would be very nervous. I wouldn't want to do it on the pontoon. I always feel like I'm going to like overbalance and potentially fall in, which would be just embarrassing, to be honest. And then all of your emotional energy, all of your poise has disappeared into the water with you falling into it. So I personally probably would have been stood up, getting some arm swings in, you know, jumping around a little bit. But I'm honestly not surprised that we see athletes sat down. Of course, it is tiring. You want to get what rest that you can. But I also think these athletes shouldn't underestimate the amount of work that they do, and not and don't need to be afraid of being a bit tired, is what I'm saying. I know you want to be protective over your energy, but thankfully this is the last race of the weekend for some of these swimmers. The furthest they'll be swimming is 13K, and they only have 1.5K less than that to swim. And yes, it's going to be some of the hardest meters that they do this weekend in terms of, all-out sprints and the really big physical effort, but they can cope with it. The kind of training that they go through with this, some of these athletes were talking about regular 100K weeks, regular 10K sessions. Typically, the minimum that you see athletes competing at the top level being able to do 10K with is 50 to 60K. So even with that, the robustness of these athletes will really be there. So I don't think they should be afraid of being tired or having to get up and move a little bit, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. And well, what I loved from the shots before was that massage gun just being out in action. And I think that's so key, is using some of it's not really new tech, but using tech that we don't really see during open water competition. Oh, here we go. We've got our top 10. So it was Cocodano leading through for France. What a swim from her down that backstraight. Tadaducci, Caserano. That's a big swim for her to be up in the mix. Boy, Travis, Fabian, Powell, and I missed the back too. Sorry, but looks like we've missed some big names in there. Delacroix, to name one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough. This is what we're saying. And then okay, so we've got the second heat through with Kajimoto, Ebina, Spilwatts, a whole host of Italians. Caroline Ruiz was in there as well, so that's good to see. So, I think we've missed out on Kuna, haven't we? Unfortunately, she did start, didn't she?
No, unfortunately not. A late withdrawal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was one that
okay.
I was looking for as well,
because
we speak to, I guess, some of the tactics that come out. So this is the start list for the sprint 1 kilometer, the semi-final. As you can see, Cocodano and Kajimoto, the top two athletes across the line. And this is a key point, Alice. So based on your finishing order is where you'll be starting on the pontoon. So it's not too important in the 1,000 meter, but for the 500 meter, it's only a 200 meter straight between the first from the start to the first can. So it's going to matter in this race where you do position.
Yeah, so it's good to. I guess that's the added element of the 1,500. Does matter in terms of you wanting to get into a strong position so you can have a good place on the start line. But then I suppose, as we saw with one of our athletes who dived in at the second heat, she dived in a little bit later and just kind of found her place, found where she wanted to go and moved into it. So it's good to see these athletes, getting some good rest. It's such a challenging race, mentally. I think personally for me, mentally, this would have been the biggest challenge, is getting out and then you think, okay, I've got another 1,000 to go and I have to do well there so I can get into the 500. So it is a big mental ask from these athletes. But I'm sure they will all rise to the challenge and execute it well.
Have made it through to the semi-final. They look about as nervous as the rest of everybody here. So let's start off from top to bottom, shall we? From France, number 4, Clemence Cocodano.
So we'll get to introduce
from
all of
Japan,
our semi-finalists
give it up for Chika Kajimoto.
Kajimoto
was
flying down that final straight.
Tadiucci of Italy into the semi-final.
Oh, and they're back out already.
Next up from Germany, Zinette Spivaks.
Yeah, you can see a little jog happening there. Here comes the
right, next up, Italy's Antonetta Cesano. For Japan, Airi Ibina. Germany, Leah Boy. For Spain, Angela Martinez. United States of America, Brooke Travis. Next up for Italy, Giulia Burton. Hungary, Bettina Fabian. Okay, next for Italy, Giulia Gabrieleschi. Monaco's Lisa Paul. All right, for France, Luan Godet. Another for Spain, Clara Martinez. For Italy, Veronica Santoni. Another one for United States of America, Mariah Denigan. Italy next, Linda Capone. All right, this is the really vital part. You ready for Spain, Paula Otero? And our final qualifier for the semi-final, give it up for France's Caroline Joyce.
So there is our semi-finalists. No surprises, really. Everyone's looking quite nervous as we head down to the start line now. We're only moments away from the start. And Alice, we noted in the Heat 1 and 2 that the start was ever so crucial. There was very little change from the start to the swimmers that actually held the lead into the finish line. So if you are on that start line now, are you willing to go 100% over the first couple of 100 meters just to get that position, or are you trying to save up for the back end of the race?
I think you got to go for it. I know personally in my situation, I was never a great starter, so I would be putting so much pressure on myself to make sure that I could get in the right position. Those who are good starters, I think it's just kind of business as usual. If you're used to being in front off the start, you need to do that, but you're probably going to have to put more effort in for it. So I expect all of these swimmers, because they're all very high caliber, to want to be at the front.
So a tick over 10 minutes, and we're underway now in the semi-final. One athlete choosing to hold the start, but everyone else in the water and swimming very strongly at the top of the screen. Clemence Cocodano of France, absolutely steaming. She's got Ichika Kajimoto on her hip. Those two were very quick off the blocks last time, and this is a very dangerous position for the field. They have to make sure that they jump across quickly. Spearworks as well, now swimming into the field. That will be the leveler. But, that's a dangerous position and something we need to note going into the final. Kajimoto now taking the lead.
She looks fantastic. Honestly, like I keep hyping this, but she looks really good. The speed that she's carried off the start, like these women behind her, she's just really shifting. Everybody's going to be swimming so fast as well. It's not like it's the start of a 10K and you see one person like really take it out for a good while. No, this is like everybody is going for it. We do see, I don't know if it's Mariah or Travis, taking their own line towards the left. They've just gone behind this boat here. But everybody's kind of like bunched up now, trying to find space, trying to find opportunity. And this is where it's really challenging for the positions starting on the start line. Those on the far right, like you can tell they're really struggling to find their space to move further up. I saw a German hat, but you've got the two, you've got Kajimoto taking the lead, but then Tadaducci off to the left as well. So kind of got two leaders at the moment who are taking their own lines and everybody else trying to follow their wake.
So for that line of swimmers that are sort of sitting 5 rows back, what are you doing here, Alice? You know that you're looking up and seeing an Italian cap, most likely going to be Tadaducci. Are you trying to swim across or just really letting the pack decide for you?
This is where I think you'd let the pack decide for you. You know it's going to sandwich together at some point. You do not have time to swim by yourself. The moment you kind of jump across, end up trying to swim by yourself, you lose seconds. And every second is going to matter in this race. So it's one of those ones where as much as you want to control the race, you need to go with it at the same time, basically. You need to allow it to develop and find those opportunities to just keep moving forward. And so for the swimmers on the far right here, I would be moving over personally. You try and like fold over as soon as possible. Try and find some feet, try and find some waves, because it is Tadaducci really taking the race towards this left-hand side. And gosh, she's really stringing it out actually. It's one of those where you can see a substantial gap happening here. I don't know if that's Martinez I'm not sure, sorry. I think it is a Spanish or a French cap that they're swimming completely by themselves, and they're in a decent position to get back onto these feet, but the pack on the far right, that
Oh, wow.
That is, yeah, that's gone.
Yeah,
Like I think
that's
we're seeing
split.
the final happen here on the left.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, so Ibina, sorry, no, so Kajimoto of Japan still has probably the better line, but they will have to come into that pack, and that's when they'll fall into about 10th position. Interesting to note, just to the speaking to the speed here of Tadaduchi, it was Brooke Travis of the USA that decided to pull out to the wide to get her own water, and it's completely annihilated her. Luckily, however, she's been able to fall back into this lead group and maintain connection. But this speaks to, I guess, the prowess of Tadaduchi. She is not leaving it for chance. Unfortunately, I don't think this sort of tactic suits well for that 500-meter final, where we'll see some pure speed down that final straight. But making it there is one thing, and Tadaduchi looks very comfortable as they approach this turn can.
Yeah, as we were saying yesterday, she can grind out a race. A kilometer is long enough to really grind it out. 500, probably less so. I'd still expect to see her up there being able to do this, but I think she probably might have more of a challenge from some of the swimmers who have a bit of sprint left in them. And of course, we still have at least about 500 meters for about 600 meters maybe left to go. So we're just approaching about the halfway point, and a lot can change as we're seeing now, and cutting back over. Yeah, it causes so much chaos behind.
Is that something that you've done before? Almost overturned intentionally on the lead, knowing that the pack is going to almost sort of exacerbate that once they get around the turn can themselves.
Oh, I've never tried that one, but what I have done before is for a 5K race, I would speed up quite a lot, like put in like a good 100-meter sprint, like sprint, and then slow right down, and just like cause like complete chaos, and just play around with the pace a little bit. Of course, that's not something that you can play around with in this race, but I think in a 10K or a 5K, you could probably take that kind of energy to it. But Tadaduchi really did well there because the pack kind of all slammed together as it typically does as it goes around a buoy, but the space that she's managed to create here for the pack, and especially for these swimmers, I don't know if that's Caroline Jouy sat in the middle there in the blue French cap, but that's the kind of place that I would be very happy in. You've got some really great draft. You're not doing all the work at the front. Hopefully it's not too stressful for her, that she's not having to put absolutely everything in to keep up. I doubt that's the case.
Yeah.
But it's a great position to be in when you're looking to qualify for the 500.
Well, it's a great position, especially going into this turn here, where she'll have the inside line and be able to get through very quickly, which is so key. I think that was Ibina just ticking in second. So good position for Jouis, as you mentioned, but certainly now it gets interesting. Sitting 6 is not where you want to be going into this final straight. Remembering once more, the top 10 will go through to the final. So there is a lot at play down this back straight, about 400 meters into the finish line. Tadaduchi looks like she's already sewn up her lead into this race. I don't think that she's in any risk of falling outside of the top 10, but there will be some movement coming shortly. To take away from her speed, and you're almost if you start battling, you're encouraging the rest of the pack to move forward as well. But if you're just sitting on holding that feet, then there's not going to be too much movement. The risk, of course, being if someone swims up alongside you and you get sandwiched, and that's where I think that's Ibina sitting in second there for Japan still. You want to give that third swimmer that you're sitting next to a bit of space. So if there is going to be an athlete that moves through, they move through in the middle. That being said, it's very much easier to say it from the commentary box as opposed to being actually in the race and knowing where everyone's moving.
You've made such a good point about encouraging other people to overtake. So if you're sat in second position and you're kind of like I don't know, making it look like you're clinging on for dear life, I think that's always quite a smart strategy in terms of you hug Tadaduchi's feet, and that's what one of the other Italian swimmers is doing. Unfortunately, so many of them that I'm not sure which one it might be, but she's doing very well at owning that space in terms of I'm staying on Genevieve's feet. If you're not taking that from me, this is my space, and we're going to let her carry us into the finish. you enjoy like second or potentially third place, but I'm taking her feet. And I think it's a really, really smart way of swimming.
Yeah, and something that we don't often see, especially in the men's race. They almost embrace the chaos that comes with fighting, and we saw just how detrimental that can be yesterday in the men's 10 kilometers. Once there was a lead group of 6 across, it opened up the door for Philadelphia to storm home. And it's been very smart here from the Italian out in front, Ginevra Tadaducci, just to sit there and let the pack do the work behind her. So those first 6 swimmers, they are all but sewn up. There's 11 athletes in that group there as we go wider to our top 13. So one athlete, I can't see any movement coming from those back markers, but one athlete in that group is going to miss out if this is the way it plays out through the finish arch. And Alice, that is a brutal pill to swallow after swimming 12.5 kilometers this weekend.
Yeah, especially being so close to the final, and just how tough this race is. It's not like you can get in and take any part of it easy and go, oh, at least I got into like XYZ position. No, just losing out on the final by such a small margin is going to be really, really difficult, especially with the standard and the caliber of swimmers that we're talking about. They're all such great competitors. They're all going to want to win. They're all very like strong and capable of winning. So it's definitely going to be an electric final. But it looks like Tadaducci's really dominated this section of the race, and it's going to be so interesting to see if anybody looks to challenge her in the sense of, are they going to try and get in front of her earlier?
Well, no doubting the win here. Ginevra Tadaducci of Italy is almost shut down the book across the line. That is a classy swim. Looks like we had Bettina Fabian roll through. Oh, one of the USA swimmers, I think, will be the 11th athlete. And I think that was Denigan that missed out there. So a huge story because she is incredibly quick over that 500 meters as well. And as we saw in Alghero at the Junior World Championships, the USA girls were unstoppable. So now we have 10 minutes again, Alice. The final 500 meters ready and raring. Interesting to note that those lighter athletes that really do like the start of a 10 kilometers are up the front of the race, controlling the speed. Tadaducci, the master of that. If they've opened the door for Martinez, I think my money is on yesterday's champion, Angela Martinez, to come through. And there she is. I think she's in, Alice. That's going to be an interesting way to see how this plays out. 500 meters ahead of these finalists, and it's going to be all on the line for glory.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure if she got in. It was just so tight in that finish. So, of course, looking forward to seeing definitely getting the names of who's got through, but it looks like she's through. She didn't look disappointed. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because Tadaducci is so good at getting out and dominating and getting in front and owning that space. But with only 500 meters, I really can't predict how it's going to go. And as you said, and as we've been saying, it has been a very unpredictable weekend. In such a fun and exciting way. There've been upsets, especially in the men's race. If we're being blunt about it, I'd say that Italian 1-2-3 was an upset on the race that we were watching, and even a little bit so with the women's race. And Tadaducci looking so good throughout the race, controlling the pace, and Martinez having a really, really strong back end to take that home. So I think we're going to have more of the same in this 500. I think something's going to surprise us. As we've been saying, both Kajimoto and Ebina have looked absolutely amazing, and I'm really hoping and expecting for one of them to get on the podium here.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would say that this is where the race tactics change from the 1,000 meters to the 500. It doesn't really feature those athletes that are like Tadaducci, who really like to hold the pace at the start. Because it's only 500 meters, everyone manages to find a second, third, and fourth win. And that's where you get your stronger athletes, like we saw yesterday with Angela Martinez storming home in that last lap. I think this is going to suit our stronger athletes, and this is why I think when we get to see the likes of Ana Marcela Cunha racing, it's going to really suit her style of swimming. So only time will tell, though. We've only seen this raced once in the women's, and it was where we saw none other than Claire Weinstein almost like make it look silly, winning by 11 seconds in that last 500 meters. So we don't have the best track record to go off yet, but I really think that this is going to be a dog race almost, and the strongest athletes are going to start to feature in that last 100 meters.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's going to be very much a like kind of brutal, splashy, whitewater sprint finish, where it's going to be who can get their fingers on the pad first, who can find that grit, and they've got how much 12.5K of racing in their bodies now. They're going to be tired, but the adrenaline thrill that they'll be getting right now will be so good, and that's what's going to carry them through the next like 5 to 6 minutes of swimming that they're going to have to do. And I suppose when you put it down to that, so 500 meters, in my mind I'm like, oh, okay, it's after everything they've done, it's quite far. But when you say it's like 6 minutes less than of swimming, it really changes your perception on it, and understanding that you have to go for this from the start.
Well, when you break it down further, it's a 200 meter straight, 100 meters across, and then 150 meters to the finish line. And that, it feels ridiculous to say, but if you compare it to yesterday's race, it was a 750 meter straight, and then the 500 meter home straight that they had to finish on. So it will be lightning through those turns, and I guess it reaffirms exactly how the tactics play out. So we look now, it was Gabrieleschi, in fact, the second Italian across the line. Fabian, Otero, Fernandez, Cocodando, Boy, Spearworks. Oh, there are some big names at play here, Alice. This is going to be a star-studded final, and somehow we've got almost all of the best athletes in the field as we come down to the final. This is exactly what would have been dreamt up in the boardroom when World Aquatics were designing this race, and it's come to fruition here on the second World Cup stop of the 2025 World Aquatics season in Ibiza. What a moment ahead of us.
First swimmer going through, make some noise for Italy's Ginevra Tadiucci. Next up into our knockout sprint final from Italy, Giulia Gabrieleschi. Joining them from Japan, Ichika Kajimoto. Representing Hungary, please welcome Bettina Fabian. First swimmer from Spain, Paula Otero. Representing France, Clemence Cocordano. Next up from Germany, Leah Boy. Also representing Germany, welcome Jeanette Spiewaks. Final two places, firstly from Italy, Antonietta Cesarano. Now just one place left in the final. It goes to Spain's Angela Martinez.
So it was Martinez getting that final spot, Alice, and talk about nervous. There was, 0.1 of a second in between 10th and 11th, and Martinez sneaks into this final and has now a chance of gold in probably, she's going in as the 10th place athlete, but I would say the favorite. What are your sort of last minute predictions, expectations of this race?
Oh my God. I can't call it because there's so many fantastic athletes in there, Jeanette Spiewaks, Leah Boyk. I mean, Gabrieleschi looked really good there. And of course, we've got Taraducci who can take it out and really go for it. But Angela Martinez having her own space like that is really threatening. And she has timed that to perfection.
So here we go, in the hands of the starters. And underway, as we've said, a monumental moment for open water swimming. This is the final of the women's 3 kilometer knockout. A star-studded top 10 making their way into the water. There's only 500 meters between them and the finish line. That looks like it was Spearworks leading out for Germany. It's played out very similar to what we saw in the semi-finals. At the bottom of your screen is Angela Martinez of Spain, yesterday's champion. So, a very quick start. That wasn't what I was expecting off the line.
Yeah, I think the speed from Kajimoto, like up front, I think she's just so threatening. I'd love to see her get a medal here. I think she's looking really good. And is that Bettina Fabian?
Yeah, in the middle
sat
there.
in the middle there.
She loves a drag race.
She looked. Do you know what? She's flown under our radar, and it sounds really bad because she got the bronze medal yesterday. But I think she has consistently just been in the right place at the right time. So she finished 4th in the semi-final. She's obviously consistently been in the right place, right time, found that space, hasn't had to exert herself too much, and I think that's how. If I was going to point to someone and say, this is a good way of racing it. I know the race is not yet over, but I think it's a great example of that conservation of energy, and then you can really allow yourself to fly in this 500.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. If you look through this top 10, leading the way, I think at the moment is Leah Boy. Bettina Fabian on her feet now, sitting next to Ichika Kajimoto. Interesting to note, Martinez also with a good line, but she's sitting in the 3rd row back. So that's going to be important, though, as they come into this turn can in just a couple of strokes. But there's no doubting the lead currently sits with Germany, and certainly in the box seat, but far from over as this race.
Yeah, definitely. And let's just take into fact that this is 12.5K of racing that they've done this weekend. Leah Boy, oh my gosh. Sorry, I'll get back to my point in a second. She is flying. This might be... I mean, that's only 250. There's only about 250 meters at the moment, but it's one of those leads that everybody's kind of going for it. So if you can't catch her, I'm just trying to make sure that it is Leah Boy. I can't unfortunately see her number at the moment, but we will get confirmation on that. It is either Leah or Jeanette. Both from Germany, and she looks absolutely fantastic, doesn't she?
Well, this is a dangerous point for the field, and we talked about it in the women's 10 kilometers yesterday. You don't want to be fighting in that 2nd row. You need someone to really commit to the chase, and it looks like Bettina Fabian has committed to that, but there is a gap opening up behind Kajimoto as well, sitting in 3rd for Japan. So this is chaos, and honestly, this will not play its hands for Angela Martinez. She is way too far back in the field to really feature here. But out in front, this is a sensational swim from our top 3. I think that's Leah Boy out in front. No, Jeanette Spearworks it is. 28, the number of the athlete leading the way.
Good spot. Good spot, yeah. So I was struggling to read. Oh, but
it is 23. This is the problem.
28 and 23 look so similar. I was going to say, I think I can see 23 now. But yeah, she looks absolutely fantastic. And Bettina Fabian as well, doing so well, sticking in behind her. But she's got clear water.
Gap,
Leah's got clear water. That leg kick as well looks so good. She looks so strong. She's absolutely flying.
Yeah, Leah Boy is...
Oh, those are the medals.
Like you said, there's the fight happening in 4th position, but there's going to be no changing to the top 3. Leah Boy has laid it down. We haven't seen this being swum like that. And this is incredible. The speed that she's generating this final 500 meters. Bettina Fabian's working as hard as she can to chase onto the hip of Boy, but... This is the chase group currently for 4 athletes across. Boy is dominating Alice, and I don't know, no one's going to catch her from here. This is incredible.
No, it's done so well, and she finished 7th in the semi-final. Well, I'll call back her heat swim in a moment, but she has timed it all to perfection. I just really want to shout out Kajimoto of Japan. Again, another great swim. She was swimming it much further up, but she's going to get second place here. And Bettina Fabian as well has done absolutely fantastic. So basically, we're looking at 3 different ways of swimming this and getting medals, and it's so exciting for the event.
But the moment belongs to Leah Boy. She will write the history books, the first ever champion over the 3-kilometer knockout. Germany rejoice as Boy stops the clock. 5 minutes 19. Are you kidding me? That is electric swimming from Boy. We'll see how the top 3 played out. It looked like it was Fabian ahead of Kajimoto of Japan. The rest will be over the line now, but the top 3, that is insane. 5:19, open water, no turns. That is electric speed.
Yeah, she was shifting, and the gap that she managed to open up is so impressive, because you think Martinez, Tadeucci, Gabrieleschi, all really strong and fast swimmers, and she really managed to, I think she did very well at conserving her energy in the 1500 and the 1K. I think she managed to find spaces where she was comfortable and happy, and then was able to really let her speed fly. And as I was saying, it was only 5 minutes or 5 minutes 20 of swimming. It's really not that long relatively to what these women are used to dealing with. So if you can get your mind around that and get over that, you can have a really incredible result like she has. And she's the first ever senior winner of this event for the women. And what a fantastic way to do it as well. And another World Cup medal, another World Cup gold for Leah Boy. What a weekend.
Yeah, and what a couple of months for Leah Boy as well, coming off obviously not being able to represent her federation at the Olympic Games to a really strong end of 2024. A somewhat disappointing race in Soma Bay, but she's delivered here in the 3-kilometer knockout, getting a dominant victory. 5:19. I can't exaggerate how fast that is.
Fast.
Like if you put that in the pool through the first, a world-class 1500 for the women is still around that 16-minute mark, and that is right on pace for that. So well done to Leah Boy. I did not have that on my bingo card today. I thought it was going to be a drag race through the finish arch, but Leah Boy, if we can get a shot of that first turn, that's where she ended the race. She got around that so quickly. And Alice, although it wasn't a tactical masterclass on the finish, it was a tactical masterclass on the overall race on that first turn, deciding the win. We get to hear from the athletes now.
Happy, you look very happy. My second question goes to our second place runner-up here, Bettina. You were on the podium yesterday in the 10-kilometer. This is very different, isn't it?
It is. It's much faster. It's more exciting for me, and I'm very happy that the last lap is 500 meters, because I'm pretty good at 400, so my 500 was really good.
Our winner today, representing Germany. Let's have a big round of applause for Leah Boy, first of all. By the way, I know I talked about this before we got here, but did you train differently for this?
No, we just train like every day, but it gets faster with every round. It's a nice new competition.
Yeah, it's really exciting, isn't it? Did you enjoy being out there and taking part in it as well?
Yes, for sure. It's nice to be here. It's a cool place, and the race are super fun.
Excellent stuff. Let's have another big round of applause for our 3 medal winners. Give it up for Germany's Leah Boy, Hungary's Bettina Fabian, and Japan's Ichika Kajimoto.
What a top 3, and a quick shout out, obviously this moment belongs to Leah Boy, but a quick shout out to Bettina Fabian on the podium yesterday, and once again today. She is so good in that finish arch. She really has that last burst of speed.
Absolutely, and it was so good to hear her give that feedback on enjoying the race. It's things like that of course, you'll get the organisers going around asking the athletes, what did you think? The coaches, what did you think? What can we do? What can improve? But to get that instant feedback, definitely for me as a fan, and kind of like helping create the drive to improve and make our sport wider. It's just so great to hear that it was enjoyed by the athletes, and it was so fantastic to watch. So yeah, huge congratulations to Bettina, because another fantastic weekend for her.
We get to relive some of these moments here. That was not at all what I expected. So great to see this play out once more. It's good to see that, as we said pre-show, the theme of this weekend has been unpredictable, and it delivered once more, Alice.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm really looking forward to the men's race now as well because, the athletes from these nations, they'll go back, they'll tell the men, do X, Y, and Z. They'll be looking at the things like, is it worth leading? And I'd just be interesting to see if you get the men play around with trying to lead, trying to make it a bit steadier, and potentially getting caught out in that as well. So, like I said, you can't get too cocky with it. You can't think, oh, I can take this super easy from the front and everyone will just fall in behind me. But it'll be interesting to see if, looking from the results with Tadaducci, who did the majority of the leading in the 1K, unfortunately not getting onto the podium, will that have an implication of how the men look to race it? So yeah, we've still got a whole nother round of this to go.
Well, it's so interesting because when you break down the way that Tadaducci raced this knockout, it almost lends her hand as to how she prefers to race that 10 kilometers. And it was one of the points I wanted to discuss yesterday, but the way that Ginevra tends to race really suits the way that the race is being headed, but not so much winning the overall races. So I honestly, if you spoke to Tadaducci, I don't think she would choose to race it any other way. I just think that last 500 meters is a completely different race than the two heats before.
Yeah, you're so right. It's one of those things you have to play to your strengths. So, it might be one of those things where if she did try and play around with the pace, ends up actually losing out and she's not in the final. So, it is really have to lean into what works for me, what kind of athlete I am. And it's one of those things, unfortunately, Leah Boy just had that speed that few could contend with.
Yeah, so I mean, when you pull it apart at a higher level as well, it's going to be so interesting when you do add some more of that speed at a world level, and I guess also the opportunity to be called a world champion. I think Leah Boy, I don't think she'll get the opportunity to race this event at World Champs, but everyone's aware now of how you can win this race, and I guess it's going to be an over-exaggeration to stop people from getting that space early in the 500. Once again, reiterating just how important that start is.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry, I'm just looking back through the time. So Tadaducci won the semi-final in 11:12. So half of that time, if I can do my maths fast enough, would be about 5:40, 5:45. Is that right? I don't know if that's right, but in that range. And so we're looking at, of course, it's a 1 kilometer, so you'd expect it to, of course, be slower. It's not going to be like an even split, but just looking at basically, I'm highlighting the time that Leah Boy went in 5:18. So quick. It was about 20 to 30 seconds faster on the 500 half that they were splitting in the semi-final. And that's why I'm not surprised that some of the swimmers, a swimmer like Tadaducci, who is fantastic at that kind of long grind, I'm confident she'd probably have, besides Marisha Johnson, would probably have the best 10K for time trial in the women's race, like full stop. I'm confident she would have that. But in terms of, that pure, like raw speed and finding that space, Leah Boy just managed to execute it so well.
So here we have some of these shots of the early heats, and I mean, you've shouted out before, Alice, but how good are these young Japanese swimmers starting to make it through? Kajimoto, the first time she's been on a World Cup podium, and what a moment to pick that opportunity as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's so good to see, and this is how the talent, because they have had historically some really, really good swimmers, but the depth that we're seeing now is really exciting.
You're so right. Only a matter of time until they start competing in that relay as well. This here, the shot of the semi-final, was Tadaducci, as we've mentioned, that was just so dominant. I think it's so interesting to see the different tactics playing out. The last couple of strokes of that race out of a mental game, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where it's, because you can knock it off, you might as well. So I completely respect and understand it. And it's an interesting one in terms of I don't know what Tadaducci could have done better, to be honest. She's so strong and robust, being able to lead. Like she was up there in her heat, looked really, really good in the semi-final. But I mean, what can you do when someone's going to put down a 5:18? Unfortunately.
Yeah, no, you're so right. But that was the turn there. That was so
yeah,
like
so
yeah. 5:19, right? But in open water, and just the way that she cuts through these cans, you see the very different approach between Leah Boy and in second, that was Bettina Fabian, that just went only 20 centimeters wider around that can. But when you do that, it almost opens up a meter. And when you're swimming flat out, you have someone that opens the door to swim up onto your hip. There's no chance that you're going to shut that lead down. But Fabian did a good job in the finish line to get a hold of second position. Oh, the tactics are... you could spend an hour breaking this down, and we will, Alice.
Oh yeah, definitely. Queuing up the podcast, we'll absolutely be getting into all of this. It'll be coming out sometime next week, guys. So if you want to hear some reviews of what we thought about the racing, please do come check it out.
So that concludes the action for the women's 3 kilometer knockout. A reminder once more, the men's 3 kilometer knockout coming up very shortly, and then we have both the medal presentations. Alice, now our attention turns to the men's, and equally as star-studded as we head towards that race.
Absolutely. And, after some of the emotions from yesterday, I know there will be a lot of disappointed athletes from the way the race finished, to be honest. Those final 500 meters, there were definitely some emotions flowing from our athletes from there, but a great opportunity to get that aggression out and kind of, so you don't end up leaving Ibiza thinking, oh, like I wish I'd done X, Y, and Z. It's another opportunity, as we've been saying, to get in, get some good racing, and especially for some of the men from yesterday, right some wrongs.
So all that and much more coming up. Be sure to stay tuned, and we will see you online very shortly.